Good morning, St. Johns County and beyond. Welcome to the weekly radio show of the St. Johns County Council on Aging, better known in our community as the COA. We are your local nonprofit agency who for the past 50 years has been leading and advocating for the dignity, independence, health, and community involvement of older St. Johns County residents. I'm Brian Robinson, Program Director for COA, broadcasting to you live from the studio of WFOY 102.1 FM, your local radio station for news, sports, and talk. Today is a bittersweet day at the COA radio show, as it will be the last time our good friend and longtime volunteer radio show host Will Masson will be joining us. Will, on behalf of St. Johns County Council on Aging, I want to thank you for your many years of service to us in this role. It will not be the same without you. Good morning, and if you would share this morning what's going on.
Well, good morning, Brian. It is a pleasure to be here, as it always is, and thank you, really thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. You know, I have been on the COA show in one form or another for, I want to say, about 5 years now. So it has been a great journey. I have learned a lot. I've met a lot of wonderful people. I have gotten to know this beautiful organization very, very well. And as this great group is celebrating its 50th anniversary. I'm very hopeful for 50 more great years, at least, from the Council on Aging.
I will be 101.
Yes, and I will be a little bit behind that, but not far. At that point, not so far that it won't matter. But no. So my wife and I are actually in the process of starting our own business. And
okay. In addition to your law practice.
Well, no. So we are actually we've gone out on our own now. I've hung my own shingle. So I started a law practice, and she has come in to join me,
right.
And so it's a wonderfully exciting time, a busy time,
absolutely,
to say the least. And so right now I am turning my energies and my focus inward to that. That being said, it is always a joy and a pleasure to volunteer, to be part of what makes this community great, and I will, of course, still be part of everything and anything that I can to help St. Johns County in that capacity. And in the meantime, I'm just going to be working on some of our stuff close to home.
Absolutely. Well, we are so thankful. And it's a very odd moment for me, because usually I'm sitting where you're sitting and you're sitting over here in this chair. And so this is a totally different perspective for me this morning.
It's a real role reversal. And I have not sat in this seat maybe since I was on the St. Johns County Morning News with Chris Phillips back in like 2015.
Okay,
so
well, it's a different chair, because this one over here that I'm sitting in is very wobbly.
I'm
just noticing that.
It is a different chair, but see, now you've got the big boom, the adjustable one. That's the fun microphone.
Yes,
that's where things get exciting.
I feel much more important in this seat than over in that seat. So, as we, just reflect upon your years of all the different people that you've interviewed, is there any one or two or a few people that come to mind that you think, wow, that was a great person to spend some time with and interview?
I tell you what has really stricken me is not one person necessarily, but all of the great, wonderful people that have so much involvement and influence with the Council on Aging, the people who have made programs, and I believe Miss Audie is here today.
She is, yes.
Things like the IMEP program, which I find to be an incredible achievement, and hearing from...
And you've been a big advocate of IMEP. It seems like several times that I've been on the show, that is one program that we have that you absolutely just adore.
I find it remarkable. I really do. I find the foundation of that program to be really incredibly grounded in research and academics, and the fact that it has been something that has grown beyond our local COA, and other organizations have actually paid to participate in that, to be able to offer that same programming, is proof in the pudding of the value of something like that. And I just think so highly of everyone who has brought that to fruition. And beyond that, I mean, I've had the opportunity to speak with our local law enforcement officials on here in a variety of capacities, talking about protecting our seniors from scams like we did just a couple of weeks ago. Tina Brofield, I mean, what a phenomenal woman. She has done incredible things, saved enormous sums of money for
millions of dollars.
It's just lights out what she's accomplished. And then, of course, working with you has been an absolute blast. The time that we've spent co-hosting has been a lot of fun.
It's been fun. It really has.
And even before that, just having you on, you were on a month to month for a while, and I enjoyed that. We've had a really good time with it. So just across the board, it has been a pleasure. I've gotten to know and speak with amazing people, and I'm just grateful that I've had the opportunity. I really am.
Well, thank you so much. And again, on behalf of COA, we appreciate your years of service, volunteering to do this, and just coming in here and teaching me the ropes here so that I can take over today. Thank you for that. And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and go to our first break. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by our wonderful manager of our Integrative Memory Enhancement Program, Emily Oddie. And we're also fortunate to have with us one of our participants in that program, Mr. Ken Miller. So he'll be here talking about his involvement with that. Phenomenal. And so they'll be coming up after our break. You're listening to 102.1 FM WFOY, the COA radio show. And we're back, and we are here at 102.1 FM WFOY, and this is the COA radio show. Again, I'm Brian Robinson, Program Director for COA, and we just gave our send-off to our good friend Will Masson. And now for this portion of our show, we are joined by Emily Oddie, Manager of our Integrative Memory Enhancement Program. IMEP, for short, is what we refer to it around COA and throughout the community. And also Ken Miller, who along with his wife attends our IMEP program at our Ponte Vedra Memory Center. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. Brian. Thanks for having us.
Good to be with you. Ken and I were talking before the show started, and first time on the radio.
It is.
It is. Good. Okay. And so it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, that is for sure. But we are just here having a conversation and talking about this wonderful program that COA started about 10 to 12 years ago that is designed to help those who are in the early stages of dementia. And so, Emily, I want to start with you. And now I know everything there is to know about IMEP, and you've learned a lot in the past 6 months that you've been our manager. But for our listeners out there today that maybe they are totally unfamiliar with IMEP, if you would be so kind to tell our listeners about IMEP, what it is, where it is, how much it costs. Is there anything new to report?
Sure. So IMEP stands for Integrative Memory Enhancement Program. It's the classes. We have 3 locations. We have one in Ponte Vedra, Fruit Cove, and in St. Augustine. It's an intensive enhancement program for those who have early dementia and Alzheimer's, like you had said. It can be used for prevention as well. So we have some people in our 2-hour class in St. Augustine who go there just for prevention. That's at our St. Augustine location. And there on Tuesdays, we have a 5-hour class from 9 to 2. And then Wednesdays and Thursdays, we have a 10 to 12 there as well. Fruit Cove is only a 1 day a week on Thursdays from 9 to 2. And then Ponte Vedra, we were having Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 9 to 2. However, on January 8th, we did just open our new 3-hour class, which is from 9 until 12. So that's kind of
on Mondays.
Shorter, on Mondays.
Yeah,
yep.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so it's shorter. We're having some people in there again who are maybe not as far along as some of the other participants who come to the 5-hour class. However, we have some of our participants from the 5-hour class come into our 3-hour class, so we really have a good mix, and everybody has really been gelling well together.
That's fantastic. And so the cost to attend.
The cost is $20 an hour across the board. There is a preliminary complimentary class that you're allowed to take just to try it out, see if you like it. If you don't have to come back. But people typically come back is what we've been seeing. So we're grateful that we're able to give them that first kind of free ability to come in and see how it is, and then decide for themselves instead of feeling like everybody else is making the decision for them. They get to come in, meet everybody. If they're comfortable, then they decide if they want to come back.
And we try to keep the class sizes small.
Yeah, so our cap is 12. Again, across the board, all of our location, every one of our classes, it doesn't change. We have 2 facilitators per 7. So once it goes to, if it ever gets to 6 people, we usually have 1 facilitator and a volunteer. And in the case that we don't have either one, then I myself.
Then you step in.
Then I step in.
And then if you're not available.
And then if I'm not available.
Then it's probably going to be me.
Then I'm going to call you. I sure would.
And so I just want to mention that we're so grateful for the volunteers that come, right? COA could not function without the many, many volunteers. And so we have some wonderful volunteers in our IMEP program at each of the locations to whom we are very, very grateful for the service that they provide, because they're kind of behind the scenes, kind of keeping an eye on keep an eye on the participants, getting them some coffee, getting them a snack, what have you, helping them getting lunch prepared. Some of them go out to actually pick up the lunch. So very, very grateful for the volunteers that we have. So and in your role as the manager, now you've been in it since June 5th of last year.
That's my mom's birthday.
It is what?
It's my mom's birthday.
Your mom's birthday.
5th, yeah.
Okay. Well,
she's listening.
Yeah. Is she listening? Well, hello to Emily's mom. Good morning. All right. So as you think in this role that you've been in now for 6 going on 7 months, what has been the most fulfilling part of your job so far?
I probably would say meeting as many new people as I have. I have a really big soft spot for the participants who come in and their caregivers. I mean, I still have some who haven't come in a while, just for various reasons, whether they can't or something else that has happened, that still reach out. I still reach out to them sometimes just to see how they're doing. And that's been my favorite part, is getting to know all of them and their stories and hearing about their lives. I mean, all these people have all this life experience. It's just so enriching to hear about. And I really love that about my job.
And I think that's also the challenging part too, is because, our program, the IMEP program, is designed for those who are in the very early stages of dementia. And so as our participants progress in their dementia journey, they eventually get to the point where they're not applicable for the class any longer. It's not the right setting for them. And so that's such a challenge, because you and the facilitators, you get to know the participants, you love them and you care about them. And then it's very, very difficult to have to get to that place where you have to say goodbye. And I know you've already experienced a little bit of that just in this short period of time that you've been the manager.
Yeah, those are one of the most difficult conversations I've had to have just in my lifetime, is sitting across from somebody and telling them that the person that they've loved and cared for so long has gotten worse. And I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a doctor, but you can just tell by behaviors and just the way that they're able to concentrate and things like that. So we pay very close attention to that. We're very attentive to their needs, if they have to come and get picked up. We're very grateful that our caregivers are always available by phone. 99% of the time there's that extraneous situation where they have work or something else going on where they can't, but that has been the hardest part of the job, is watching people decline for sure.
Well, I'm very thankful for you and the facilitators and the volunteers and how much you just absolutely love all the participants that are part of the program. So thank you for that. We do have a email address called radio@coasjc.org where listeners can email questions ahead of time. And we did get one from listener Bob C. Bob C. is a regular in emailing us, and so we are thankful that Bob C. Listens to the show and emails us questions. And this is a question that he has. Do you think we've made any progress toward getting society to be more comfortable talking about dementia? And, there is a stigma with it that in our society that people are very cautious about talking about that. Do you think we've made progress?
I think we've made progress just from when I've started in June versus up to now, where I was getting calls just directly from caregivers. And I'm like, oh, well, how did you hear from us? Oh, the website and this, and whether or not they had heard from us other places, I'm finding now I'm hearing people tell me, oh, I'm going to recommend you guys to so-and-so. So I've had a bunch of referrals to PV in particular as of right now, where, oh, I told my neighbor about you, her husband's doing this or he's not doing so well. So I gave her your information, expect her call. And then I would get on the phone with that person, be like, oh, so my neighbor told me about you, her husband's having the same problems and, they're going to try to go together. And it's a lot more comforting that they know. And that actually happened recently. Last week, I had signed someone up who had said that their neighbor told them about us. And so it's great that the community is talking about it, because it used to be such a taboo thing that we don't talk about. It's whether it's just because of the embarrassment or, like you said, the stigma behind it. And I mean, I don't quite understand why. I guess maybe because I'm not in that part of stage of my life. I'm trying to understand the stigma behind it. But I can understand where it's, you feel like you're losing a part of yourself or your independence or, your role as a human being, whatever that may be, mother, father, daughter, things like that. So it's definitely growing.
And when you think of your generation, you're in your early 20s. How does your generation look at this?
I talk to my friends about my job because I still work at CVS, so I still have my CVS friends. But and I tell them, and they're like, "Oh, like I wish we could do that. Like that sounds so much fun, and about the job and talking to the people, and it is fun." But again, there are the difficulties behind it, but they don't have really many difficulties talking about it. Just from my friends, I think my generation in particular is a very conscientious generation thus far. Not that the others haven't been, but it's very, health forward, or very mental health awareness, very illness awareness. I mean, the amount of TikToks you see, like, hey, this is my illness, just so other people are aware of it. So I think they're very straightforward in any ailment that they may be experiencing. So I don't think they feel any differently toward seniors who are experiencing this either.
Very good. All right. Well, we are coming up on our next break, and we will be back here shortly with the COA radio show talking about IMEP with Emily Oddie and soon to be Ken Miller. All right. Welcome back to the weekly COA radio show. I'm Brian Robinson, program director for COA. And today we're talking about IMEP, and we're joined by our IMEP manager, Emily Oddie. And we are so fortunate today to have with us one of our participants who attends our Ponte Vedra Memory Center, Mr. Ken Miller. He and his wife attend the program. Ken, welcome to the show. And if you would be so kind, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and then what led you to get involved with IMEP.
Good morning, Brian. I was a career Navy dentist who, when I decided to retire, I transitioned to private practice, and then when I decided to retire, such a cliche, but I moved down here to be near our daughter and her family.
Okay.
So that was the reason we were here. For a while now, I had been noticing my wife seemed to be somewhat forgetful. Now, she was always sort of the fun, ditzy type person in college and things, but she seemed to be forgetting things. And I kept telling her, yeah, you're scaring me, because you're not remembering something. And then our friends started noticing it when we were traveling and things like that. So it was kind of obvious that we had to do something. And I've been saying to our primary care physician that I thought that Abby was having some memory issues. And actually, we had her tested as well as me. And there was some MCI, mild cognitive impairment, that she had. And our daughter had heard about the IMEP program. And so one day we just happened to be over there on a day that Emily was there, and we started chatting about the program, and it seemed like something that would be helpful. Emily also told us about the Mayo Clinic Habit program, and so their structure of the two programs is similar, and so we did go to the Habit program, but that's a limited duration type thing. I think it was 10 sessions.
Okay.
And so we did that.
And that's more of a design to kind of prepare you for what's ahead type.
It is,
type
and
program.
it's interesting in the program because they do similar things as far as not the fun games and things like that that are memory enhancing that IMEP does, but they do have the educational portion where they teach you about MCI because that can cover lots of things besides Alzheimer's. And then they have a yoga portion, which some people have some sort of bias against that. But again, it's the exercise thing, which is supposed to be helpful.
Sure.
Also support groups in there, and so that's continuing on. But the IMEP program, I think, is really, really good as far as being able to make it a fun thing. The people who are facilitators there are kind, compassionate, welcoming. It's a very nice session. I mean, I look forward to the days that the classes that we go.
That's what I love hearing. Like I hear that so often. Like some of our caregivers have shared that like their loved one gets their she was talking about her husband. He would get his clothes ready the night before because he was so excited to go to the program. And so I love that. And one of the things that I've heard too is just the fact that, you're going there and you're amongst others who are dealing with similar cognitive issues that you're dealing with. And so everybody's able to kind of let down their guard and be comfortable and be themselves. Whereas in other places, like we had somebody that shared with us that, they got diagnosed and then it seemed like, their friends were kind of didn't know how to act with them anymore and their social organizations that they went to, they weren't sure. So they come to IMEP and they're around people who are dealing with the same thing. And they said it's just a great experience for them. Have you found that to be the case as well?
Absolutely. Everybody's very welcoming. There's no judgment there. That if when we have some of the activities, if you don't really feel like you want to do something, that's fine. They just move on, and there's no stigma attached to that.
Right.
So I think it's, as I said, it's a very welcoming environment.
So for somebody out there that's listening today, and maybe they're worried about somebody, their loved one, that they're noticing is having some memory issues, or maybe themselves, they're struggling with it, and they're afraid to speak to their doctor. Like, what would your advice be to that person that's listening today?
Talk to your doctor.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I wish that we had done something earlier of a formal nature. I mean, there's behavior modification, diet, medication, which can, again, there's no cure for Alzheimer's. But there's clinical trials that are going on, and there are screening exams, if you will, for that. And so the earlier you are in the process, the more likely you are to be considered for one of those trials. And there's no guarantee it'll work, but most of us are willing to try.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I want to make sure that our listeners know. Like with our IMEP program, by no means are we saying that this program is meant to cure Alzheimer's, dementia, MCI, any cognitive issue that somebody's dealing with. But research has shown that doing the things that we do in our IMEP program, keeping the brain active, it does help to slow down the process. So it's definitely not a cure by any means. We're not saying that. We're not promoting that. But it is a great place where folks can come. They have the socialization aspect, which research has shown that that's very helpful. And then there's the different activities that are done that get the brain going, get the neurons moving around. And one of the things that that we try to do with our curriculum is really just get you thinking. And it might be for some participants it's very easy. For others, they're like, oh, this is way too hard. And like you said, we don't force anybody to do it if they don't want to do it, so that it's optional. But it is very helpful to participate in it. So you love IMEP and you keep coming back to it. And so what is it that keeps you say you get excited about it? What is it specifically that you think gets you excited about coming to it each week? If there's one thing in particular or several.
No, I think it's, as I alluded to earlier, that you've got the welcoming aspect to it, that people have become friends. Mm-hmm. And the activities are, as I said, fun. Mm-hmm. The game, so some of it's educational, some of it's just forcing you to think. Mm-hmm. And, pardon me, it may be that, like my wife is not a big math person, mm-hmm. but I grew up, my father would have us do math in our heads when we were traveling. So I like the math part of it. Mm-hmm. Other people don't. Mm-hmm. But there's word games, math games, just educational, thinking about, like yesterday there was a discussion about nutrition. It can be a variety of things, but everything I think is interesting. It's designed to have you thinking. Mm-hmm. And it's, again, I keep coming back to it. It's a fun atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right. Well, we will pick up this conversation when we come back. We're headed into another commercial break. We will be right back. This is the COA Radio Show on WFOY 102.1 FM. All right. We're back with the weekly COA Radio Show here at 102.1 WFOY FM. I'm Brian Robinson, Program Director for COA, joined today by Emily Audie, Manager of our IMEP program. And we went into the last commercial break, and we were talking to Ken Miller, who he and his wife are participants at our Ponte Vedra Memory Center. And Ken, we were just talking off air prior to coming back on, just a little bit about, I was asking you, was your wife comfortable going to IMEP at first, or was it something that you had to encourage her to be a part of?
It was definitely an encouragement. Mm-hmm. She did realize that she had been somewhat forgetful, short-term memory, mm-hmm. but she was not convinced that this was the proper avenue. Mm-hmm. And so what I said was, let's go. Let's at least try it. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have to go there more than once to really see if mm-hmm. this is the right fit for us.
Sure.
Because I don't think you can get a good appreciation of something from one visit. Mm-hmm. So we did. She has gotten to the point now where she also enjoys coming.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And hopefully she's recognizing the value of it. Mm-hmm. But she does enjoy coming in. It's not something where I have to force her, mm-hmm. nor could I.
Right, sure. And so you actually pay to attend the class as well, and you personally do not have a diagnosis, but you've chosen to attend to really just be there with your wife, so that she's going and being a part of it, and so as you think of the curriculum, right, from your viewpoint, some of the things that we find challenging is trying to create a curriculum that is kind of a one-size-fit-all type curriculum. And that's very difficult to do because we have people that are in the class who are doing it, say, as preventative reasons, right? And others who are in the class who have actually had a diagnosis. And so some people are I guess, with it, and they know their stuff, and you ask those trivia questions in the trivia portion, and boom, 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 they got it, or the math or the science or whatever. And others who, depending on where they are in their journey, might find it a little bit too difficult. So what has your experience with the curriculum been that we use in the classroom?
It's hard to feel like you know it all in any of these classes.
Okay.
Or things, because we all have times when we go, wait, I know that, but I can't drag it up.
Right.
And so that's true for all of us. So, yes, I think there are certainly people in our class who are more advanced in their MCI journey. Mm-hmm. That said, nobody in there, I mean, you're surprised. Somebody you think is just really pretty far along, and they just come up with answer after answer after answer. Mm-hmm. And it's just impressive. So I don't think that it's too much or not difficult enough. Mm-hmm. As I said, I enjoy the class. I think everybody in there is benefiting from it.
Mm-hmm. And having said that, there's an individual at one of our other locations who you think I've been there and I observe, and this individual you think is sleeping, and then all of a sudden when there's a question asked, this individual pops up and answers it, and I'm just like, oh my goodness! And this individual's late 90s,
96,
96, and
Wow.
so just like you said, sometimes you think somebody might have an answer that you didn't expect to come from that person, which is great because it's showing that it's stimulating the brain. It's bringing back those memories that are there that sometimes we don't realize are there until we're asked a particular question. And so you've talked a lot about MCI, which is the diagnosis that your wife has received. And so, Emily, if you would just kind of talk a little bit about the difference between MCI and dementia.
Sure. I do want to say, for the record, I'm not a medical professional. Everything that I'm going to be saying, I have learned along my journey of this job. MCI, like Ken has said, is mild cognitive impairment. Some people can go on 30, 40 more years and not have any inclination of any cognitive decline, whereas Alzheimer's or dementia, it's pretty steady in the decline. Like our classes slow it down. Any brain stimulation of any kind slows it down. Some, but not enough as we would like. So that's the big difference. Is MCI can stay MCI, but it could also progress into something else.
Okay.
Whereas dementia and Alzheimer's, early onset Alzheimer's, really is the comparative between MCI or early onset Alzheimer's. That's more of a guarantee almost that it's going to decline going down the line.
And Dr. Melanie Chandler, who runs the Habit program, she's specific with MCI, correct?
Yeah, so her whole career, or at least a majority of her career, has been researching MCI. And in doing that, she created this habit program so that people were aware that an MCI diagnosis isn't always the end of your life's journey, or, oh, this is it. This is the big, whammy of a diagnosis that you don't want to hear at the doctor's office. And sometimes, I mean, there are cases where sometimes doctors get it wrong. Again, not a medical professional, just from what I've seen. I've spoken to someone before who said that they have had an early onset Alzheimer's diagnosis. I gave them Dr. Chandler's information. They got a second opinion, and it turned out that it was MCI.
Okay.
And the reason I never tell anybody anything, I give them resources, and then they make their own decision. However, I would encourage a second opinion of an early onset Alzheimer's diagnosis, because sometimes the stigma in that is when people hear that, they think that's it for their loved one or for themselves. And it's crutching. Like it's rough to hear that, but MCI isn't as like stigma prone, I guess.
And I think it's probably because we're not that familiar with the terminology,
right?
MCI, as we are dementia and Alzheimer's.
Right.
I think MCI is kind of new.
It is newer,
and so we're not that familiar with it, and so that's why I wanted to kind of clarify that.
Yeah.
And so through the Habit program that you were speaking of, Ken, you said that they do have some support groups for the caregivers to come, and I assume that you have been a part of that and have found that to be very helpful.
I have not gone to one yet.
Okay.
Because we finished the Habit program in the fall. We were traveling for the December Habit support group. There's another one next week, which I am registered for. So I'm looking forward to that, because one of the things that was interesting and helpful, I thought, was the caregiver support group that was part of the Habit program. And with that, it was, I think, beneficial to hear other people share their frustrations, successes, techniques that they've used to kind of cope with things. And quite honestly, in our group, we used to all go to lunch together, and it was nice having all 10 of us.
Yeah, and it's great to see that you're not alone in this journey of taking care of somebody. And next week, we're going to have on the show Paulette Kozlowski, and one of the things that she does, she manages our caregiver support program through COA, and so we'll be talking about the different things that she does through her program. So we're very, very thankful for the caregivers, and I just think that your story is just phenomenal. That that you have stepped up to the plate, taking care of your wife, willing to go to the IMEP class so that she feels comfortable being a part of it. And we are just so grateful for you and your wife and all of our participants that are part of our IMEP program. You're the reason that we do what we do. You're the reason why we designed the IMEP program, because we want to be a part of helping you in this journey and supporting you and doing whatever we can to slow down that process that is affecting your wife and all the other different participants. And so thank you for being a part of the program and attending on a regular basis. We're so very appreciative of that.
Thank you.
All right, so we are nearing the end here of our weekly radio show for COA. I've been joined by Emily Oddie, our IMEP manager, and Ken Miller, who attends our Ponte Vedra location. Emily, do we have any openings right now? Any spots available?
We have spots available in Fruit Cove, Ponte Vedra, Monday through Thursday, and our 5-hour on Tuesday at ABC. Our 2-hour classes are full, but there is a wait list, and there's always that IMEP at home option.
The views, opinions, and contents of this show are those of the host, guests, and callers. They do not necessarily reflect those of Local Matters Broadcasting, LLC, its owners, partners, affiliates, assigns, or heirs.